Taylor. Thanks everyone for being here. That's the presentation there. There we go. Orford Mining is not quite as new as Megan's company. We're about 5 years old. The company started listed in 2017. And I'm going to make some forward-looking statements. I'll have you read those at your leisure. So there's sort of three key pillars to this company. First of all is the West Raglan Nickel Copper Sulfide Project, which was the foundation of the company when it was private. It's a 713 square kilometer project in the Raglan Belt, about 90 kilometers to the west of the Raglan nickel mine that Glencore operates, which is one of the best, most world-class nickel assets in the world. They basically produce their nickel and copper for free. The platinum palladium pays for production. And then we have the Kegavik Gold Project, which we believe is a brand new gold district just sitting to the north of the Raglan Belt. Basically, no one has explored this project before us except for two Falconbridge drill holes where they were looking for nickel and hit a bit of gold. And then we have the Jetel projects in the Abitibi that sits next door to Agnico Eagle's original gold mine, the Eagle Telbel mine. It's actually where I got my career started. So we went back in there in 2020 when the Quebec government basically shut down mining in the province and staked a bunch of ground, and we've acquired another project since then as well. And we'll go through those three projects. This year, we've drilled about 6,000 meters of drilling. We have about 1,400 square kilometers of land across the province of Quebec, and we continue to look at new opportunities as well. So just giving you a quick snapshot of where we sit in the world, you can see we're sitting at the very northern tip of Quebec in the Raglan Belt with the Kegavik and West Raglan projects, just next door to the Raglan nickel mine. And the Jetel Eagle project, which is sort of our key project in the Abitibi, which we'll be drilling and we'll talk more about, sits down in the Abitibi, close to lots of infrastructure. And then we have two royalties in Colombia. In 2018, we bought a company for the cash it had on hand, and it came with a couple royalties. Both of those are being actively explored by Outcrop Gold and Barracia. So they're in the Mariquita Silver District, which is one of the most prolific silver districts in Colombia, explored during and production through the colonial age. So there's our market cap and share ownership. You can see Alamos Gold owns about 25% of us, very supportive and good shareholder, and lots of institutions and insiders as well there. We have about $3 million of cash on hand right now, so we're well financed to do our drilling this winter and continue our projects in this market that's not so great for gold. Our board is very strong, as is our management team. Alger St. Jean and Michel Chiarantino are sort of our geologists that run our projects. And you can see our board there, Peter McPhail, who was the COO at Alamos Gold until recently. John McCluskey's on our board, Mark Goodman, ex-Dundee, Ben Pullinger, ATAC Resources, and Monique Rabideau, a well-known Bay Street lawyer, and Lawrence Smith, who is a well-known asset manager and an analyst on the street here in Toronto. So just taking another closer look at our projects in the Cape Smith Belt, you can see there's basically two groups of rocks there, the dark green and light green rocks. Those are the more ultramafic-based rocks where you find the nickel deposits. So both the Nunavik nickel deposit, Canadian royalties, sits in the southern part of that belt, and then the Raglan nickel deposit sits in the northern rim of that same belt. And then to the north is the Parent group, which had not ever really been explored by anyone. And we found what we believe is a brand new gold district there. We're hitting high-grade gold at surface there and lots of surface showings. And you know, you got to look at this belt. It's Proterozoic in age. It's the same kind of age and tectonic as you see at the Ashanti Belt in West Africa, the Tanami Belt in Western Australia. So it's got some really good company in the world, and we think we're on something quite special there. This is the reason we got excited about Kegavik. These are surface showings across the project. You can see up to 648 grams per ton at surface showings, 450 grams. So we know there's gold endowment here. Many of these are grab samples, float samples, because there's not a lot of outcrop here. We're very close to the ice center, and we've learned a few things about ice direction and movement this summer, which we'll go through in a bit. We have done some drilling. We've now drilled about 70 holes across the property. There was only 2 holes drilled before we started here. We've only drilled only spent about 35 weeks on the ground on this project. You know, we work from near the end of June to the beginning of September every year, so not a lot of time on the ground, but we've done quite a bit of work. We've discovered a copper gold showing at the far western side of the project, the Esperance zone. It's about 4.5 kilometers long, up to 7 meters of 7 grams combined copper gold. So we've got some interesting mineralization there, and it's very widely drilled. We've got gold zones in ultramafics, we've got gold zones in quartz carbonate veining, and lots of sericite alteration and shear zones, and also in felsic intrusion. So across the property, the gold mineralization, the type of mineralization, we're seeing changes rapidly, as you would expect in a new camp. So if you look at this map and you think about the Cadillac break from Malartic to Val-d'Or and the number of different kinds of gold mines and gold deposits you see, that's sort of what we're expecting to see here. We have big through-going structures that cut through the project, and we think they're the main mineralizing events. This is the type of mineralization we find in some of our samples. This grades up to, I think this one's almost 50 grams per ton. Big, you can see how big the blocks that these guys have sampled here are. These are meter-sized boulders, and they're very angular. We know they haven't gone far. This summer, we drilled 14 holes on the project, mostly south of what we call the IP Lake Trend. This is in the very southern central portion of the project. We got assays up to 8.1 grams, lots of quartz carbonate veining, lots of sericite alteration. We do not believe we found the source of the Anik boulder trend. We've done some glacial interpretation in the past number of weeks with a guy named Stu Averill, who runs Overburden Drilling Management, one of the best glacial mines in the country. And he believes that all our samples are very close to source and not as far as we were originally thinking. We were thinking this was a boulder train that came down to source down to the south. He believes each one of those areas where we're finding high-grade boulders are very close to source, and we need to drill very close to them. So that's what we'll be looking at in the coming weeks to see how we approach that next year. Just a look at the sample results we had. So we've found a big, huge 2-kilometer wide quartz carbonate alteration system with lots of veining, and we've sampled it in a few drill holes. So lots of work to do here still. Moving south to the Raglan mine, this is a deposit, the Raglan deposit sitting 90 kilometers to the east of us. World-class deposit. It's been producing since the late 90s. They have the same reserves and resources today as when they started the mine, so they continue to replace reserves and resources. And we have an option to JV agreement with Wyloo Metals. They can earn up to 80% in our projects by spending $25 million. This summer they spent about $5 million doing drilling and downhole geophysics and prospecting. So we're quite excited to have them as a partner. They've been great, and a great technical team. We have two different geological models we're looking for here. First on the right is the Raglan model. I describe it as a string of pearls. So they have a lot of deposits. Not any of them are very large. Probably about 1 million tons is the biggest deposit they have. So we're looking for a series of pods of high-grade nickel copper sulfides. You're getting up to 1% nickel, 3% nickel, 1% copper, and up to 3 to 4 grams PGE in there, and there's a bit of cobalt as well. And that's the sort of typical grades they see at Raglan. On the left is the Canadian Royalties model. It's a little more disseminated mineralization. You're getting 1-to-1 copper-nickel relationships there, and we see both of those types of mineralizations on our project. This is our property. It's 58 kilometers long east to west and about 20 kilometers north-south. You can see there's two trends. There's the south trend, which is where we believe the potential for the Nunavik nickel-style mineralization is sort of a 1-to-1 type nickel mineralization, more disseminated, more massive. And then we get the north trend, which is where you get the much more massive sulfides than nickel sulfides that you see at Raglan, and the much higher grades like you see at Frontier. Up to 3.21% nickel, 1.2% copper, 3 to 4 grams PGEs. Just an example of the Frontier zone, which is the zone we've spent the most time on drilling. You can see the drill holes we drilled this year. We hit nickel sulfides, and then we're still waiting on some of the assays, bring some screw-ups at the lab as far as getting through because there's a little bit of asbestos in there, so they have to do some special prep on those assays. So we're waiting on some of those samples to come back, but you can see we drilled a few holes on both ends of it and in the center of it, and we're waiting on those assays. We also drilled some exploratory holes on the other side of the property, and we hit disseminated pentlandite pyrrhotite in most of those holes as well. So we're waiting on those results as we speak, and when we get those out, we'll report them. And moving much further south, now down to the Abitibi. As I said, I started my career working for Agnico Eagle in the Jetel camp, exploring the property from basically the Eagle Tellbell mine almost all the way over to the Estrade nickel mine zinc mine that the Teck guys were operating at the time. And we went in there in 2020. We were looking at the whole province of Quebec and looking for areas that weren't staked. And funny enough, a lot of the area around Chatel had not been staked up yet. So we staked what we could, and then we did a deal with Globex Mining for another property. And that's where we're spending most of our time. It's the the Chatel Eagle project, which you see in red in the center there. It sits right to the south of the Maple Gold project that Agnico Eagle has done a JV on. And we've been drilling that this past year. The area that we're concentrating our work on is called the South Gold Zone. It's a very thick, up to 46 meters wide, gram-type material, but it has a high-grade section in it too, which is the old mine horizon that runs all the way through from the Eagle Tail mine across the property, and that's where we're going to drill this year. You can see it here in the box there centered. Some of our results from last year, 1.24 grams over 28 meters, 1.1 over 20 meters. So some good thick intersections of gramish material close to surface. I'm just going to skip along here. So this is the long section of where we're going to drill this year. You can see the planned holes. You can see the holes that they drilled in the past. What I'd like to point out is a lot of the holes that Agnico Eagle drilled in the old days, they've redacted the assays when they recorded them in the assessment libraries, so we don't actually know what they hit. So we're going to repeat some of those holes and see what they hit. We found in this past year's drilling that we actually hit some pretty good mineralization where they had redacted assays in the past. So as you can see, there's a higher grade intersection in each hole, and then there's a big thick intersection of gold mineralization. So you get the massive sulfides that was in the original Eagle Tail Bell mine, and then as you move down into the section, you go into more disseminated volcaniclastics with lots of sulfides in them. We have great relationships with the First Nations across the province and all the communities, and we continue to work hard on that. So just summarizing the company quickly, great strategic shareholder support with Alamos Gold, massive land position in 2 emerging gold districts, or re-emerging as far as Chatel goes, both at Kigavik and at Chatel. Potential for what we believe are multi-million ounce gold deposits at Kigavik and what we believe is a brand new gold district. Of course, we have a very strong financial partner at Wyloo on our West Raglan project. And of course, we're in one of the most proven and safe jurisdictions in the world. 2022, we drilled we spent about $9 million in total, including Wyloo's money, and drilled 6,000 meters of drilling, and we expect the same kind of exploration effort in 2023.